I strangely enjoy the balance that Meg Thee Stallion's Fever album brings to the game. Meg is incredibly fucking talented, man. She's rapping her ass off.
One thing I love about Meg Thee Stallion is she's also bringing nerd culture to the light. So she's out here taking photos in Bulma outfits. She's doing the Todoroki hairstyle, and it's Meg is out here. Even if she's not really into it like that, it's just another outlet of us showing it's okay to be a nerd if you're Black. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And she opened herself up to having so many other people. Now this is a whole new audience she's tapping into. So now all the blurs are we down for Meg Thee Stallion because she's acknowledging us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Hip Hop and Anime Vibes, the podcast. I am your host, DTown, aka Hip Hop and Anime Vibes, aka Katsuki Baku Glow, aka Facsimilian Pegasus, aka Goody Mob Psycho 100. And today is another episode of our Top 5 series where we speak with creatives in the nerd space and get their insight on their journey through the culture. Today, I am joined by none other than...
What's up? My name's Fantastic Frankie. I'm here to talk about everything nerd culture and give you my top 5 on the Nerd Essentials. DTown, I'm loving that you have more titles than Daenerys Stormboard. It's amazing. Hilarious.
Listen, man. I've got 2.5 minutes worth of AKAs. So
I just have the one. I just have Fantastic Frankie, AKA Frankie.
Hey, you know what? It's simple and straightforward. I like it. I'm a fan. So
thank you.
So we'll get right into it. So again, guys, I'm joined by Fantastic Frankie, and just some information on how I came across Fantastic Frankie. Of course, I run the Hip Hop and Anime Vibes space, and oftentimes I check in with new creatives and new content curators throughout the page's history. I seen this young woman pop up who had all of these hot takes on anime, on comics, on Marvel, DC cinema, and I gave her a follow when we started having a conversation, and she let me know what some of her goals were. And I literally seen this young woman get it up out the digital mud, so to speak. So I'm really happy and excited to sit down with her. Frankie, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm very, very excited to be here for sure.
Awesome. So go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Sure. So I'm definitely a content creator. I've been into nerd culture since I was a child. I was raised in it. I spent a little bit in Japan and got to experience anime, but definitely I'm a child of Toonami, which really got me into anime, and my dad's definitely into comics, so that really got to me as well. But I grew up in New York City, so I have that cynicism that comes with that, and watching things like anime and comics and being a true New Yorker, I start to have these questions, and I would just bring them up to other friends in the community, and they would just lose it. And then I was like, I want to share. I want to see if other people are agreeing with me in these thoughts, or am I the only one? So I decided one day, I'm just going to start a page, because honestly, I don't see enough women of color talking about this. And I would love to hear that perspective and to kind of lend an ear in that way. And definitely, I listened to a couple people like Eunice on Black Girls Anime and Destiny Senpai on Getting Animated, and the girls from Pretty Brown and Nerdy. And I just thought, there's still a pocket here where they're definitely delivering news and they're giving reviews and on topics, but they're not, someone needs to be the villain. So I'm definitely here to be that. So it needs to bring that in. So I definitely came in with that, and it's been going great. It's been hitting the pavement hard, and people have been supportive and interactive, and it's amazing.
I respect it, man, and I can speak for the grind. I see you out here busting your ass day in and day out. It looks like you're building something out of nothing, and I more or less want you to speak to that because it's about your fandom, right? And I think that's where we should start. Like, when did you decide to embrace your fandom of comics and anime? Was there a particular point that you recall?
You know, I think I was raised into it. So it was kind of part of my DNA. So it was odd when I was a child and in middle school and high school because I was like a closet nerd. So it wasn't part of popular culture the way it is now with the MCU and Game of Thrones and things like that. So I'm watching and I'm really into these things, but there really wasn't a forum to share with the exception of going to cons. So I don't think I truly embraced my nerdom, to be honest, until I started this page. So I've always been into it. I've always been reading it. But it was kind of like a fun fact. Like if someone asked me, if someone kind of knew me or an acquaintance, they really wouldn't know that I was really into it versus I started my page and I feel almost free. Like this is a hobby that I've always been very interested in. But now where it's part of culture, San Diego Comic-Con is a big release party almost where everyone's going to see what's going on. And we're dictating the movies, the shows, and we're just dominating with our culture, with sci-fi and all that. And it's great to have these conversations now. And now I can have it with almost anyone and they'll know it at least on the surface level.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think the page definitely propelled me forward on that end.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think you're speaking to a lot of our journeys into embracing our geekdom and our fandom. You know, when I don't necessarily know how old you are, and I'm not going to ask, but my keeping it respectful, but my journey was very similar. Whereas, high school, middle school, I'm running home watching Dragon Ball Z, watching Saturday anime on the Sci-Fi Channel, and there's nobody I could talk to about this thing. And it just seems like within the past 15 years, it's exploded. And now we're able to have conversations with people across the world who are into the same things that we're in. So I'm really happy to see that your page is leading a lot of those conversations and bringing a lot of people together to have those conversations. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the long form content that you produce. You have a YouTube channel and a YouTube series. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us about the YouTube series and the purpose behind it.
Sure. So I still am. I'm a huge fan of Blurred Without Fear and Film Theory and Super Carlin Brothers, which are all men. Most of them are white men except for Blurred Without Fear, where they'll kind of give in their thoughts and their 2 cents on different things. And they get a twist on it. So you know exactly what their opinions are. They're supplying facts, but they're kind of having you second guess some things or giving you canons and things. And that's where I realized, especially from women of color, that's something that we're not exposed to. So my main goal of my page is to normalize the Black female voice in this nerd culture where, yeah, I can give you theories or I'm thinking about this or this is my take on it. And to have it in a way where people aren't asking me do you really read it? Have you read it? But it's now just us arguing or looking at plot holes and things together. So on my page, I spark a conversation with a hot take, and then I explain what my hot take is on the YouTube channel. So the video isn't long. They're typically around 3 to 5 minutes where I'm explaining exactly what I said. I'm explaining myself because sometimes I say really egregious things on the Instagram and people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, please just check my video out. It's not quite what it seems, and it's definitely it's definitely going in. So I tag mostly mainstream content. So things that I know a lot of people could identify with or have watched. So Dragon Ball Z, comic books, and popular animes. But definitely when movies are coming out and things like that, there are some theories I had when I read comic books growing up that I've been waiting to kind of drop on people. And now that the movies are starting to touch on it, I could bring it out and see what people think about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you do that very well. You know, I know we said in our pre-production chat, I said I really love your hot takes because they are simple truths that are straight to the point, but they come from a lens and come from a perspective that many people may not have explored before. Like I know you have a video. I think Goku is a deadbeat dad or the worst father. And you also just...
I have a bunch on him.
But
hey, Goku.
Nah, I mean both the same. And there was one that you put out, I believe, all the Marvel superheroes are villains or lawbreakers. What was the word you used?
All Marvel heroes are criminals.
Yeah.
They're criminals.
Because they're vigilantes. I mean, I think you have some really dope hot takes, and I urge people to check out your content. I don't want you to give them the sauce now, but I'm telling you guys, Frankie does a really good job of creating a conversation around certain topics. And one of the things that I like about how you create those conversations is it seems that, at least from my observation from the outside looking in, that people just jump into the conversation and they don't go, oh, well, this is a woman. She doesn't really know what she's talking about. And from my conversation with women in the creative space and in the nerd space, that's a roadblock that a lot of them run into a lot of times when just dealing with casual fans. So, but
I definitely think lately I haven't had that issue. And I've been blessed because I've had to fight it a lot, especially my DMs. I would get it often. I would screenshot it and save this for motivation. Sometimes I get those microaggressions where, I make a statement, I'm talking about it in my video, and then the first thing a man will say is, well, did you read it? Did you read the comic? Or, that's the kiss of death, because what they're suggesting is you're speaking on a subject that you don't know anything about. But I think I've been able to not eliminate it, but minimize it a lot, because I've been interacting with all of the people on the conversation space quite frequently. So I make sure that I drop video and the image on Instagram at a time where I have enough time to answer all the people. So when they come in and they're like, you're crazy, this is ridiculous, I can instantly follow up and then start speaking about like where my references are, my sources, what I read to get this point out. And it's definitely been working. But I also think that we're slowly moving into a space where women, especially Black women, are beginning to become revered, where they're seeing our power, they're seeing how much talent we have, and people are starting to listen.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that as well, and it's refreshing. It's refreshing to see because, I believe in embracing inclusivity and diversity. And one of the things that we don't really see a lot of influencers in the nerd space that are both women and or Black. And again, not saying that they don't exist. Shout out to Eunice. I had a podcast with her, Black Girls Anime, and shout outs to Destiny Senpai getting animated. These are some influencers that I'm seeing that are coming up that are really making waves and starting to make noise. But I wanted you to speak a little bit more about being a upcoming influencer in the nerd space as one, a woman, and two, a Black woman. What are some of your success stories? What roadblocks or barriers are you running into? Like, how are you overcoming some of those obstacles? I would love for you to share some of that with us.
Yeah, so I've definitely been blessed with growth. A big part was before I even started my page, I'm a planner. So I looked into what it takes to start a page, what my roadblocks would be, how to grow it. So I've been able to grow exponentially. The biggest issue I've had are the gatekeepers within the nerd community. And they're silent, but they still cut very deep. So they show up in your DMs and things like that secretly, and they'll see my posts and not like what I have to say. And instead of kind of going out where all can see them kind of hating on me or, questioning my thoughts and my truth, they go into my DMs and they talk to it. So that's the big robot where you're questioning, like, is my content good? Do people like it? Especially when there's ebbs and flows with your engagement and your following. So the biggest one definitely is, putting yourself out there, and people in the nerd community take it so serious. Like, to us, this is life. So when you're doing something like I am, where you're questioning something that you grew up with and you love, people are going to get viscerally angry about it, because to them, it's like you're just saying things that are against the law almost. So I get people who are very, very upset by comments, who are yelling, who haven't even watched the video, so they don't really truly know my reasoning. Mm-hmm. And just trying to get them to understand my point of view and letting them know, like, I'm not trying to be irrational or just trying to use clickbait. Like, this is just how I talk. Especially when people meet me in real life, they realize this is just how I think. And just kind of getting people to see my perspective and to be open. That's the biggest thing. The greatest thing, though, is definitely the blurred community. And also, I'm Afro-Latina, so I've been going into what we call the Nerdtino community.
Okay.
We're very, very supportive, and we're here for each other. So in terms of, like, them seeing a Black face and a face similar to them doing something that's very different, I've been getting unwavering support on that. And people are just so excited to see something different and to be able to have that level of exposure on things that was exclusively white and male for so long.
Mm-hmm. And
so it's great.
No, I think so too. I mean, again, that inclusivity and that diversity is key, because when you see somebody on that screen that looks like you, that talks like you, and reads or watches some of the same things that you watch, you instantly make a connection. And one of the points you made earlier that I really like, and I want people to understand, is you are engaging with literally everyone on your page. And that's how you develop those relationships. That's how you build a page. You can't just put something out and not engage with the people who are talking to you. You know what I mean? So, but let's talk a little bit about content creation. Now, here's the thing. I let them know at the beginning of the show, right, that, so to speak, for lack of a better term, you are getting it out of the digital mud. And every video I see, you're improving. The numbers are going up. The interaction is going up. Could you speak to your content creation process? How you come up with an idea versus how you execute the idea, and then how you distribute that idea or the content that you've created across your platforms?
Yeah. So when it comes to creating ideas, that process is sporadic. So typically I'm watching something. I watch YouTube videos, I watch movies, or I read something, and then a plot hole in something will show up, or at least reveal itself to me. And then I instantly have to write it down and know for another, I'm going to talk about that in a video. And then I have a conversation with myself or a friend or something. And then I flesh out the details for the videos and what I want to use to cite. But the main thing is I get the hot topic and the actual phrase I want to use to draw people in. And then I build the video around that. The best thing about me creating content that I love to share with people is I don't have a professional equipment at all. To start my page, I paid around $60. I bought a makeup light for the ring light that you put your phone in the center, a clicker, and a very, very user-friendly editing tool that does just the basic overlapping and cutting. And I just started doing quick edits and talking to the camera. So right now, and I have an extensive t-shirt collection. So I was like, look, I'll just wear a t-shirt on the subject. People know what it's about. Now I have a brand. And I was able to build that with little to no money and no experience in marketing or anything. So the great thing now is that with YouTube, with the internet, when you're ready to start, you have professionals as your guides. You go to YouTube and there are professional photographers, production people who are creating videos and essentially creating this cycle for you to have amazing content. So but it's so great. I was looking at my very first video and I was like, this is trash. And I only made it like 6 months ago. But each time I make a video, I learn something new. I watch more videos. I get a little better at editing. And it is time consuming. And I think that's the thing that's the biggest barrier. It's not difficult to do, but it's definitely tedious. And it takes a lot of work. So if you're not ready to actually put in that work, then yeah, it becomes difficult. But if you're dedicated and you want to work and you have the internet and a phone, a decent phone, it's definitely possible to get it. And then the better production comes as you begin to grow.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. And I'm glad that you shared that with us because my journey has been similar where I started making music and producing content at a real young age. I'm as early as 2001, 2002, putting together websites, making music and studying up on all of that stuff. And this was before YouTube was even out. So I was just using like a web crawler and Google to figure out my information. But you struck and you said something that is really important that I want people to take away from your journey. It's that you didn't have a lot of money to start out. And as you progressed, your skills improved. And I just want people to stick with that. You may not be the best at first, but repetition is the mother of skill. And the more you execute a task, the easier that task will become for you. So maybe with me putting together a track, like as far as like editing and a podcast and stuff like that, it used to take me when I first started out, maybe about 2.5, 3 hours. Now I can get it done respectfully in about 20, 25 minutes once I'm done recording. So again, just stick with it and it'll become easier. So the last thing that I guess I'll ask you before we get into the top 5 would be what advice do you have to people who may want to become an influencer or start creating content within the nerd community?
I would say before you start it, the biggest thing is knowing exactly what you want to achieve and having a resolve that cannot be moved. So once you start your page, there are going to be a lot of people. I don't want to necessarily call haters, but they're definitely people who are going to be gatekeeping in a way and, questioning what your motives are, telling you how you should move your page. And yeah, a lot of it is helpful. You get a lot of constructive criticism, but a lot of it are people imposing their ideas and what they do and what they've been successful for you when you already have a specific view for your page and you already have a path that you want to move. So knowing exactly what you want to do before you get started will definitely help. And knowing that you need a lot of patience, chances are your first couple posts will not go viral. And you may not go viral or do well for months, maybe years. So just knowing that if you stick to it, something will pop and you'll get better, but you just have to be patient is definitely helpful. Because, you see people who are overnight sensations and you're like, oh, that my stuff is good. I have a lot to say. I'm talented. That may not be the case. People may not discover your page or be open to you for a while. So just being open, networking, and really having a resolve of what you're about, I think is definitely the first step for starting a page.
Absolutely. I agree completely. You know, even with my journey, it took me 2 years with hip hop and anime vibes to figure out what the hell I was doing, to figure my voice out, and to actually like see the traffic and to see the level of engagement that I was happy with. So when you say like you won't see it for months, maybe years, like that's the truth. Like with hip hop and anime vibes, a lot of people don't know. I took like 6 months off. I was like done. and then I came back and jumped back on it. And then that's when I seen the growth of the page and the page become what it was. I'm going to go a little bit off topic. I know we had some questions that we were going to ask, but I do want to ask, what are your thoughts on the big Blade announcement with Mahershala Ali acting as Blade in the new Blade franchise?
Yo, that's going to be dope. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. You know, he was amazing as Cottonmouth.
Yes.
And he definitely has a voice. Maybe not the physique. He's a little thin. I mean, he's in shape, but he's not the brick house that Wesley Snipes was. But he's an incredible actor. I think Marvel is comfortable enough in their own skin to write a good Blade. My hope is that they'll make it rated R, and then I'll really be very, very excited. Because Blade is an adult movie, you know? And to be honest, I didn't even consider him, but he honestly is the best. And he's going to look just like Wesley Snipes once they give him the haircut and whatnot. I think he's great. The only other person I could really see be Blade is Michael J. White, who's already Spawn, and who I found out is super old. He looks the same.
Yeah.
But he's the only guy. He's the only black martial artist I know, to be honest.
Oh,
but I think it's going to be dope. I think they're ready. You know, I'm more interested to see what DC is going to do during this essentially 1 year hiatus. You know, they have a real opportunity to sweep in and knock us off our feet. And I feel like they're not ready for it. So that's going to be interesting.
I have zero faith in DC as far as like cinematically. Like with movies, they have struggled more than Yamcha versus a Cyberman. So I don't expect them to wow us, man. I think they had a gem with Wonder Woman, but I'm not too hopeful, man. I mean, their animated universe, like what they're doing with their animated movies, is really dope. But even their non-animated things, their what are they called? Like their actual series, like the Doom Patrol, the Arrowverse on CW, and even their animated movies, they're good. So I don't know where the disconnect is, because DC, to be honest, to me, growing up, I connected with more. I liked a lot more. I've read so much more because the villains are fire. You know, they were a little bit more grounded, which was cool. A pro and a con, where they're in America, they're doing things with America and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just don't know where to disconnect. I think it's because they're so worried about competing with Marvel that they're losing touch. Yeah.
But I'm hoping they get it together. They have time now, you know?
Yeah. Which you know what? I gotta keep it a Buckington. I gotta keep it 1,000. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I really like the Black Lightning series.
I like it too.
Yeah, I love it. And I know I kind of just like drug DC for like a minute and a half, but I love Black Lightning, and I just realized that Scooter is Black Lightning, Scooter from Living Single. So
yes, I got my mom to watch Black Lightning because she's into Blacktainment and stuff like that. But I got my mom to like Black Lightning because Scooter was on it. She's like, "Yo, that's Scooter." He's in there. Come watch.
Yes. I like to think that his point of origin was when Khadijah left him on Living Single. He just decided to turn his life around.
Yo, his wife is bad though, so it's it turned bad, yo. Imagine he was like, yo, I'm moving back home. I'm done with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. She left him at the altar too, right?
Khadijah, you know what? I think in Living Single, he was touring and he was supporting a band overseas, and she got mad that it was an all-female band, so she just kind of like stopped answering his calls and ghosted him for like months. And he was just like, you know what, man? That's when I knew I had to make a change in my life and start helping people. So, and
I lost the woman of my dreams.
I mean, shout outs to Black Lightning. I watched it on UPN, wow. The CW when it aired.
I was like, UPN out? I was like, oh, snap, when you got UPN. Half your audience would know what UPN is, to be honest.
Dog, there's like 10 of us like, oh shit, the UPN. Like up next, one-on-one with Flex.
But Girlfriends is on it, right?
Man, listen, Girlfriends needs a movie. They do.
They do. Yeah, they're not trying to do it. Tracy is getting her bag. She's done.
Oh, yeah. She's out of here. But that is dope. All right. That is dope. So I went a little bit off script, but I think we're having a good conversation. So now we are going to move into our top 5 segment of the interview. That is where you will let us know what your top five is. And the reason this came about is because, kicking it in the barbershops and stuff like that, when we're talking about hip hop, the way you kind of judge someone, but not necessarily judge someone in a hip hop conversation in a barbershop. If they say something wild, you might ask them like, who in your top 5? Who the fuck in your top 5? So we're doing that today, and we have Fantastic Frankie giving us her top 5 blurred essentials. All right. So, Frankie, are you going to be giving them to us in any particular order, or how is this going to work?
No, I think I'm just going to give, and actually 2 of them are two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
But I'm just going to give top 5 things that you should watch, period. There's not one over the other. Just if you want to say you're blurred, you should have watched, read, or seen these things. All right.
I love recommendations. Go ahead.
Let's start with anime. It's really hard to have a conversation or to really understand the origin without these 2. My number 1 with anime is definitely Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
It came out in the 90s, and it shows that the Japanese could definitely draw diversity. It has such a diverse cast. The music is fire. It's all jazz music. The fight sequences, there's no magic or Kai Blast or anything like that. So it's just kung fu in space. So it's just a great soundtrack. It's great writing. And to me, one of the best dubbed animes. So you can have just a good time or enjoy just as much watching the dub as you do watching the subtitles. And on the other side of that anime coin is Dragon Ball Z, which is the opposite. It's not very complex. It's a very simple story, but essentially all millennials have watched Dragon Ball Z because of Toonami. It's like our gateway drug. It's basically our Batman of anime. Mm-hmm. So definitely, if you want to say you're in the anime space and you haven't watched Dragon Ball Z, it's like you haven't learned your ABCs of anime. Getting used to the filler episodes where like Piccolo gets the driver's license or something like that. And then feeling the anticipation of like, this person's losing or this person's going to die. What are we going to do? Definitely. So that's it for me. For anime, those are the 2 I would recommend definitely watching. Okay. For comics, I'll give 1 Marvel and 1 DC. For the Marvel, I gotta say Secret Invasion is my favorite story arc, which I'm very excited if you guys watch the new Spider-Man. There's definitely some hints that that's the direction they're going into. But it's a newer comic arc, but it shook up everything I knew about everything I read before. It still added to the story. And then it worked in a way where you noticed there were hints of it from previous series. So it's definitely good. It's an adult comic art. So if you have children, I'm not sure if you should watch it. There's a lot of violence in there, a lot of blood, a lot of psychological drama, but it's definitely a great synopsis of the Marvel universe. And then for the DC universe, to me, it was definitely the Flashpoint, where Barry Allen goes back and prevents his mother from dying, and just the aftermath of him messing with time and creating a paradox. And it's definitely another adult arc line, but it's amazing. It's great. It's beautifully written. For a book, sci-fi and fantasy, I definitely got to go with Harry Potter and Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Harry Potter, I read once a year. Just go through the full series, and it's just great watching the characters grow up in each book, and how J.K. Rowling manages to mention things in books 1 to 3, and then it becomes important. Small things like they pick up an item and they're like, this is weird, and then you find out 3 books later that it was something important, and they're now scrambling to find something they picked up in a room while they were casually talking in conversation. Wow. So it's just a beautifully written book. And the same for Game of Thrones. I know a lot of people are upset about the series, but the books have not disappointed yet. It's the first real sci-fi fantasy novel that I got into. And the great thing about the books are they're from each character's perspective. So you really don't know what's going on, and it's written differently. So you're going off of memory instead of like, this is third person, you're watching something happen. So it's people talking, and it's almost like a game of telephone. It's great. And the series I recommend too, you got to take that journey. It's beautifully filmed to the very end. I think they deserved every ending that they got, because it was definitely beautifully acted, beautifully drawn. It's just not drawn, filmed, but it may be written a little bit weird. And then my top, but for the movies, on two sides of the coin, I would say Michael Keaton's Batman Forever, the very first Batman with Michael Keaton, and then on the other side, Iron Man. So if you're looking as a way to get into a cinematic universe, those two are definitely the origin story that you want to start with. That kind of kicks off the whole world. So,
okay, very good, very good. So I just want to take a few moments and make sure that I have this, because you dropped some gems. You dropped one hell of a list. So, anime, Cowboy Bebop, yes. Anime, DBZ, Dragon Ball Z, yes. Secret Invasion, the arc in the Marvel universe, and Flashpoint, the arc in the DC universe. Books, Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, and cinematic movies, Batman, the 1989 Michael Keaton version, which is my favorite, and the Iron Man, the first Iron Man, or all the Iron Man movies in general?
2008 Iron Man.
Oh, okay.
Robert Downey Jr. rising like a phoenix from the ashes is incredible.
Yes.
And especially like, if you're a bit older and you know what a train wreck he is, you know? Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yeah,
It's like if Bobby Brown dropped the most fire album we have ever heard. You know what I mean? Like, he has the capacity very well, but we have lost hope in this man, right?
Yeah.
If he drops some fire out, we'll be so happy for him. We're gonna bump it, you know?
Yeah. I'm not certain if you're comparing Bobby Brown to Tony Stark's or Robert Downey Jr., but I think it goes the same both ways, because after Iron Man, we all kind of forgot that he did blackface in Tropic Thunder. So, yeah, that happened. But
you know what's so funny? I was just talking to someone. I think he did Tropic Thunder after Iron Man. But we were just talking about it. It was blackface, but it was different because it wasn't him. We were talking about how it was supposed to be him going to the extreme.
Yeah.
So it was like accepted. No one ever brings it up because it wasn't like he was doing blackface to like infiltrate someone or something. It was showing that he was an actor who's so ridiculous and that everyone thought he was ridiculous. So it's the same way that like you watch The Office and they're talking about sexual harassment and Michael Scott is doing crazy stuff, right? That's definitely like he's bringing blow dolls up in the office and stuff like that. But we know that it's them showing how ridiculous this man is. So maybe because they were showing like it was wrong, ridiculous, and insensitive, and that he's constantly getting called out by the actors on the show, that was kind of accepted. You know what I mean? Ben Stiller did a great job on that. But like, there was one movie, I don't know if they scrapped it, called like Joanta or something, where the guy pretends to be Lawanda. What is it?
First of all, I respect you as a creative. We will not say the name of that movie on this podcast. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It was an independent film that was supposed to be coming to YouTube and released on YouTube. And it was developed around a white man couldn't find a job as a radio host, so he just watched reality TV and decided to imitate black women on the radio. And not so fun. Not so fun.
I'm glad that we have the space now where we can shut that down immediately, though.
Yeah.
We're like, no, it's done. But people are trying now. We are not popular culture. Black culture is popular culture. Rap music is popular. Mm-hmm. So everyone wants a piece of this, and they're trying to monetize on it any way they can, to the point where now it's being rude, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was, because here's the thing, I didn't watch it and I didn't seek it out because I'm not a believer in hate watching, because with me being a music nerd and understanding how distribution works, I understand kind of like how film and TV and stuff like that works. So I'm like, I don't even want to click on something where this thing plays and they get a fraction of a penny for me even streaming this thing. So you guys just aren't getting my money. But to the best of my knowledge, it wasn't a major film release like from a major studio. It was just an independent film that someone was putting together. And I think they were going to release it on YouTube. And I don't know if they did or if they didn't. But, it sparked outrage culture. And I feel like that's what a lot of these major companies are doing. They realize that there's power in the black voice. So they do things purposefully to outrage us. So we begin to talk about their brand online and bring awareness to it. Stuff like H&M with the coolest monkey in the jungle, not Versace, but Gucci and some of these other brands. I think it was like Paris Hilton or Taylor Swift did some racist ass shoes. Like, I feel like people are aware of these things, but they do that shit intentionally so we can bring awareness to what it is that they have going on just by being outraged. But I digress. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. I work in a marketing firm, and it's the same thing. We do focus groups before we release something. So that means that they did a focus group with, either people of color. They do that to make sure that people of color aren't offended. They'll do focus groups with like this a different mass of people. So they did focus groups. They got the feedback that said, yo, this is racist, don't drop it. They're like, yo, we're going to do it anyway. Because, as to your point, when we hate watch, we all watched it. I remember Wendy Williams dropped an Aaliyah movie, I think. Whatever. And it was garbage. And it was the top watch movie on Lifetime, because we were all hate watching it and making memes. That's the best thing you can hope for, is that Black Twitter gets a hold of your stuff. Because then we all get FOMO and we're like, I gotta watch. I know it's terrible, but I gotta watch it because everyone's talking about it.
Listen, you just struck a nerve. My wife is a huge Aaliyah fan, and she was beside herself when that biopic came out, and they couldn't license Aaliyah's music. Like, fam, how are you making a biopic about someone's music, about someone's life, and you can't use any? Yes, like, that is ridiculous. And that also reminds me. Go ahead.
To be fair, her family seems trifling. You know what I mean? Especially after I saw the whole being R. Kelly thing and they reacted. And just knowing some of the things they did with her to push her career forward. So no, they didn't get the rights to the music, but I don't know. They've been moving really funny on that end with everything regarding her. You know, I think they're just trying to preserve whatever they built. So they're not trying to release anything to anyone.
And, you know, I respect that, but at the same time, it's like, then we shouldn't do the biopic. Like, it's like, yo, like, fam, we can't do what? All right, well, look, give everybody their money back. Let's wrap it up. Like, we can't put this out.
Right, we tried.
But that this conversation just reminded me of that time. I don't know if you remember this, but Michael Jackson had a biopic where Flex from One on One.
With Flex Washington.
Yo, goodness. So you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. And this is before Foundation was at the level, Fenty level. So they had powder on his face, yo. He looked crazy.
Yo.
At that point, I was like, they would have been better hiring a white woman to play, you know, Michael Jackson in his formative years, because the makeup just wasn't there yet. You know what I mean? At the time that it was released.
Goodness, man. And this was when Michael was still alive. I feel like Michael should have ran down on that man in the street and squared up with him. Like,
yo, I'm throwing hands if you, you know, if you get Michael B. Jordan to play Fantastic Frankie. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh, man.
It was crazy. Oh my gosh. And he didn't roll up on him, but he had bigger problems at the time. So I don't know. Maybe they'll do it again and it'll be better.
I think they should leave that alone. I think I think enough is enough. I think they need to let it cool off too, because after that promised Wonderland or Escaping, thank you. All right. I'm going off topic, but man, this was a good interview. Frankie, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you bequeathing your knowledge to our listener base. And before we take off, let them know where they can find you online.
Absolutely. All of my handles are Fantastic Frankie, spelled Frankey, like a key. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and I'm on Twitter, but I have to admit I'm not as active. Definitely check me out on Instagram. You'll get great conversation boards, and watch my YouTube videos. They'll support everything I'm talking about. Both of them are labeled Fantastic Frankie, Frankey.
Bet. All right. And you guys already know this has been an episode of Hip Hop and Anime Vibes. We are out. Make sure you follow Fantastic Frankie. Once again, it's your boy DTown, aka Hip Hop and Anime Vibes, aka Living My Life Like It's Golden Frieza, aka The Black All Might, aka On Site, aka Sailor Goon, and in the name of the Goon, I'll see you next time. Peace.